Rodrigo Almeida,
Perfect.
welcome to Sip&Snip. How are you, mate?
Doing great. And you?
Very well, very well. You work here as a transformation consultant. Tell me about yourself and your role.
Well, like you said, my name is Rodrigo Almeida. I am part of the DataSnipper Innovation Services team. And among other things, one of our roles is to provide trainings to new users. But not only that, we also implement DataSnipper in audit firms or other vertical firms. And the idea is that we want every user to know how to use DataSnipper. We want people to actually, apart from knowing how to use it, to actually use it and to help them saving time and making their job a bit more fun and interesting to do.
You worked as a former auditor for 2.5 years in the Big Four. How big is this issue of repetitive audit tasks?
Well, I think it's a very big issue, and it's obviously worse for more junior members of the team. So that's who I was. I didn't work there enough to get to like a managerial, a people manager or team manager role. So for more junior members of the team, you usually get those tasks that other people already done when they were also starting off, and now they probably give it to you because they are working on a bit more high risk areas or more important stuff. Let's call it that way. You have less experience, so you are stuck doing things that are not as interesting, such as looking at documents all day.
Okay. So you just mentioned looking at documents all day. What kind of tasks are we talking about? That's one. Can you name a few?
Yeah, so a good example that we always give in trainings are like expense testings. So we need to vouch invoices. So looking at a sample of, let's say, like 50 invoices, and then you would have to match the details on the invoice to the sample you take from your client's GL. And that's obviously a very repetitive thing. Just opening one invoice after the other. If it's a PDF, it's a bit easier, but sometimes it's in a like physical state, like paper sheet.
Yeah.
Which obviously it's not that fun. It's not the most motivating part of your job, but someone has to do it. And usually, like I said, it's more junior member of the team.
Okay. And you've said like just there's someone has to do it. So it is the nature of the role in a way. It's something that for me, who's not an audit expert, the role in itself seems quite cyclical in terms of year on year, keeping track of similar sorts of data and tasks and whatnot. So is this something that you expected going into it as a junior auditor?
Yeah, no, but yeah, definitely. Like everyone, even before starting, you talk to people who worked in audit before, and you already expect that to happen. I believe like from year to year, things are getting better. So maybe there are different ways to test or to verify a certain financial statement line item. But usually, you would always have to see some documents, even if certain engagements you might not need to do samples as big when you compare to other engagements. You will always have to see documents. That's part of the auditor job. So yeah, you definitely expect it, but I don't think you know the extent of it until you get there. And now you're there, and people ask you, or you have to do a certain thing to complete a test, and then you are stuck, like switching from invoice to invoice, wondering like, why am I doing this?
Okay. Yeah. And I think one thing, again, I've noticed looking into issues within audit is that although they are all year round, it seems that these issues are really highlighted during busy season. Is this something that's true with repetitive audit tasks as well?
No, yeah, definitely. In busy season, well, at least in the final parts of your audit engagement, you do the bulk of the testing. So it's usual that at that time you have to see and to investigate bigger samples of documents. Let's call it like that. But not only that, busy season, it's not complicated only because you have to vouch invoices. It's because you have a lot of work for a very small amount of time. You probably have various engagements. So one ends like this Friday. Next week you start on a different engagement. And if you didn't finish your work from the one for the previous week, you are stuck doing your job for the next, let's say, 2 months of engagement, doing that job while finishing the previous one, and that piles up and starts to get like a snowball.
Yeah.
And at the end of the busy season, you might get stuck with a lot of things from previous engagements, which is obviously that's not good and it's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But it's the reality.
I wanted to, like, I think up to now, we're really focusing on repetitive audit tasks, which I think is inherently an issue for the junior auditor. But even myself, I've actually performed a type of audit, a retail audit. And when I worked in the UK in my early 20s, so a long time ago. And one thing that I noticed from that is that the repetitive audit tasks were one thing, and it could be quite dull, it could be not the most motivating thing, but it also led to me making errors. And I think like that's when it starts to impact the actual business.
Yeah.
And is that something that you've seen as well, like that it leads to
No, yeah, definitely.
human error?
And I think that's something that DataSnipper helps out in all these firms, is really getting rid of that error blindness that comes with a lot of repetitive tasks, because you are doing the same thing over and over again. You start to get tired of it. You don't have the same like patience when you started that you had when you started. So you might, even if you don't want to make an error, you might do it because you're sick of it.
Yeah, I think it's natural, right? I think we're not robots in that sense. And I think the nature of such a cyclical role, which is necessary, without innovation and tech solutions, I guess, and the human error is always going to be there. I mean, even with, to a certain degree. We mentioned earlier that you worked in audit for 2.5 years, and you eventually pivoted to come here. Did repetitive audit tasks and the nature of that cyclical role contribute to you taking a new step in your career?
Well, it was a part of it.
Yeah.
So I liked, and I still like, and I think the auditor job, it can be very interesting and it's very important, but there are a lot of things within the job that I didn't enjoy. So I wanted to try a different thing, and it was a very natural change for me because I came to DataSnipper and I used DataSnipper before, so it was a very like organic thing happening. But yes, I would say repetitive audit tests, let's call it like that, but just a part of what it is like being an auditor.
Yeah,
that was something that I didn't enjoy that much, and I guess that part starts to fade away as you get to more senior roles.
Yeah,
but that takes time, and I was not willing to take that time. Just is the bigger reason behind.
It makes sense. I mean, that just put one word here, which is motivation. I think in anyone's career, like the moment that you struggle for motivation is the moment that you start to consider taking different steps. And then like with your team, as in other junior auditors, did you notice parallels with the way they were feeling?
No, yeah, definitely. Like everyone complains of the same things, and you see people that stay there longer. Some people leave after 1 year. So audit is a very high employee turnover type of job. So it's very usual that you see colleagues leaving after 1 year, two. I left after 2.5 years. And for people that joined in the same time as me, I was like, we were less than half of the people that joined. So as you can see, like in 2 years, you probably, if you hire 100 people on day one, 2 years after, you will have less than 40.
Wow. This is like blurring into another issue that we're going to talk about on another podcast, but with like talent retention. So is it fair to say that repetitive audit tasks are directly contributing to lowering talent retention, or maybe even putting young people off entering audit in the first place?
I would say more the first option, because sometimes you go in without fully knowing the full extent of those, let's call it repetitive tests. But as soon as you go in and you start to have to do those type of tests, and not only that you have to add also the long hours, the type of jobs for some people that might not want to have a let's call it like a more corporate job. So if you start to add up different factors, obviously the repetitive audit tasks are a big factor, but it's only one more in a list of things that people might not enjoy. So it's another factor for people to take in and maybe take the step to leave that type of job.
And you mentioned that you mentioned DataSnipper earlier, and that you use DataSnipper in your firm, and that's kind of opened your eyes to the solution that we have here. But just talking about solutions in general, is training in technology the direction that firms are going in to solve the repetitive audit task issue?
I think so. So let's say like DataSnipper firms that have DataSnipper are definitely working towards that direction. It's important, like people need to, or in this case, like audit partners need to understand the problem that they have in hands. It's very hard to hire right now. It's very hard to keep talent in due to various factors. And I think DataSnipper helps out in one big factor, which is the long hours and the repetitive tests, because they are correlated.
Yeah.
If you can save 4 hours per week, if you can save an auditor 4 hours per week, that's also less extra time that he does. So he's not only not doing the boring tasks, let's call it like that, he's also spending more time with his friends, more time with his family. So he gets paid the same. He does less uninteresting tests, and he has a bit more time to spend doing other things.
Okay.
So I think DataSnipper and technology can really help out on certain jobs, like in this case, like the auditor.
Okay. And if you did stay on working in audit and you reached a stage where you were maybe contributing to innovation or culture within a firm, how else would you solve this, maybe other than training and technology?
Well, regarding technology, I would just make sure that it was really well implemented within the company. So we like when our clients really want to get DataSnipper to be used, to get everyone to have it on their laptops and to actually understand the tool so that they can use it and save time on it. So I would say not only buying the softwares, but also making sure that people use them. Just not sitting on a shelf that people have on their laptop, but they never opened it and they never use it. So that's defeats the purpose of DataSnipper. But apart from technology, I would just try to implement a culture of, this is very hard to do, but I would say like implement a culture of well-being and just focusing more on, I hate this expression, but work-life balance. And it's not like audit firms don't worry about that. They sure do, but due to the different characteristics of the firms, of the jobs, of the clients, and the prices that they charge their clients, sometimes it's hard to do that. But I think that needs to be the focus for the future. It might be slow to change, but new generations are way more aware of that, so they are not willing to work 12 hours a day for 4 months or 5 months. They are not.
I think it makes sense as well, and I think just from my feeling, what you're saying is, and tell me if I'm wrong, that audit in itself is almost caught between a rock and a hard place and another rock and another hard place in a way, because you've got the problem with talent retention, which means there's less young people stepping into audit or staying in audit. The nature of the role is cyclical, and it's high pressure to do these roles. So there is a feeling that, is there even time to implement technology and new solutions properly if you have this 9 to 9 mentality?
Exactly. That's a very good question. And there's a quote from Luke. Actually, he said in a meeting with the DIS team that auditors in busy season are too busy to think about such things such as DataSnipper, but outside of the busy season, they are not busy enough. So I think people who make the decisions, audit partners, whatever, they need to, outside of the busy season, take time to invest a few hours so that the next year busy season will be a bit smoother. So it takes a bit of that, like let's say long-term vision to understand that investing a few hours per week on my employees and a bit of money outside of the busy season might really help out in the next 5 or 6 months.
I think that's I guess the nature of why we're having this conversation now, because now we're not in busy season. It's October right now, and there is a planning phase coming up and whatnot. But I guess now would be a time, although it is still quite late in the day, to really consider which solutions that can help you to have a smoother season.
No, yeah, definitely. And in September, we get a lot of requests for trainings, for pilots. So September is a very good month for us. So I guess like auditors or firms are aware of this and they are trying to implement it on time so that in January, people know how to use it and they can actually save time in busy season. So I'm glad that that's the case, but we also have a lot of way more firms that are not using DataSnipper or other tools.
As you said, like it's not, we're going to talk about DataSnipper now, but it isn't just about DataSnipper really. It's about, we want to foster an sort of innovative approach to something that is unnecessarily outdated in a way. There are solutions, many solutions. We believe we have a great one, but and now talking about that, you said that you used DataSnipper when you were working as an auditor. What was your initial reaction to seeing DataSnipper?
Well, that's funny that you asked that, because I always tell people the first time I saw DataSnipper, it's like seeing the dots connect in your head. Seeing it work for the first time, you're like, how was I doing this without it? I've been doing this like manually for the past 1 year. Yeah. And then you start to think there are people who are doing this manually for the past 10 years or 20 years. So
I think that's it, right? Like the complexities that go into DataSnipper, I can't speak of, but I can see and I can understand. But the simplicity in which we present those complexities, for me, is where our strength is. Which features actually combat this issue? How does DataSnipper combat repetitive audit tasks?
Yeah, I would say like the best one, or the one that provides the biggest time savings, is document matching. Yeah, because it really helps out in like, as an example, expense testings, like we were discussing before. If you have to match a sample of 50 expenses to the actual invoices, it will take like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours to do. Let's call it, let's say 4 hours. With document matching, you might take 20, you might take 30, you might take 40 minutes. It depends on also the quality of the information that you already have. You might have to perform a few adjustments after, but let's say that you save per week 3 or 4 hours. I think that's already amazing. And not only that, but also using DataSnipper, I think it's actually fun to use it. So you are working as an auditor, you are used to day-to-day seeing the way of working is always very formal. And then you have like a technological tool available in Excel that has like actually nice colors, and I don't know, it kind of also kind of gamifies what's like being an auditor. So I think that's also fun to use. It's fun to use and helpful. So
yeah, I think everyone loves like a shiny new toy, right? I think that's the same thing. And if your passion is in audit and there has been an element of lack of, I guess, progression, innovation, maybe even neglect to a certain point, to see to connect those dots in ways that you didn't even know was possible, and in such a simple and user-friendly way, in any context, in any solution, not just DataSnipper, is always going to excite an auditor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Those are all my questions, actually. Rodrigo, it was a pleasure sitting with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So that's it. I've been Joshua Namdi Gugwa. They've been Rodrigo Almeida, and this has been Sip&Snip.